Have you ever been in a conversation where you know you're listening, but nothing really changes? Well, today we're going to crack open a framework that's really special. It blends ancient wisdom with modern therapy to show you how to turn just, talking into real, actual transformation.
I mean, think about it. We listen all the time, right? But how often does it actually help someone? How do you go from just hearing words to making someone feel so deeply understood that it sparks real, lasting change? That's the big question. And the answer? Well, it's actually pretty beautiful. And the secret, it turns out, lies in bringing two incredible worlds together. On one side, you've got this ancient Buddhist tradition of deep, empathetic listening. And on the other, a very Western, structured, analytical way of thinking. You put them together, bam! You get this amazing, clear path from just understanding something to actually doing something about it.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll look at how these two worlds even connect. Then, we're going to dive into the art of truly receiving what someone is telling you. After that, we get to the magic part, the alchemy of reflecting on it all. And finally, we'll see how to turn those insights into real action. Ready? Let's get started.
And I want to be super clear about something right up front. This is not just for therapists. Seriously. Whether you're a manager trying to connect with your team, a parent, a friend, this is a universal guide. It's for anyone, literally anyone who wants to build deeper, more meaningful connections.
So, this 5-step process is going to be our roadmap. It all starts with really, truly hearing someone. Then, and this is key, confirming you actually got it right. Only then do you move on to thinking about a solution, and finally, putting that solution into action. So let's jump into that first phase.
Okay, so this first part is what I like to call the art of receiving. Because think about it, you can't offer any help, any advice, any guidance at all until you've built this solid foundation of genuine understanding. That's the entire mission of these first 3 steps.
Right, so we're zeroing in on these first 3, Sutta, Datha, and Vikasa Parashita. And it's so important to get this. These are not passive things you just do. Nope, these are active, deliberate skills you have to practice. It's how you make sure the picture you're building in your head is clear, complete, and, most importantly, accurate.
So step 1 is Sutta. You can think of it as deep listening. And this is way more than just hearing sounds. It's about creating a space for the other person. Putting the phone away, closing the laptop, and giving them your full, undivided attention to really soak in their story.
Next up, we have Datha, which is all about active remembering. Now, this is not a memory test, okay? It's about consciously grabbing onto the key details, noticing the themes that keep popping up, and starting to connect the dots. It's like you're a detective piecing together a coherent picture of what's really going on. And the final piece of this first phase is Vikasa Parashita, basically paraphrasing. That simple phrase, "so what I'm hearing is like a magic key. It does 2 critical things at once. First, it checks if you're on the right track, and second, and this is huge, it makes the other person feel truly, genuinely heard."
Okay, so once you've truly taken in all that information, the whole process makes a big pivot. This is where we get into the alchemy of reflection. It's where you take all that raw understanding and start to transform it into an actual workable plan. All right, so you've listened, you've remembered, you've confirmed. Now what? Well, our focus shifts to the absolutely crucial 4th step, Manasa Anupekita. Think of this as the bridge. It's what takes you from, okay, I understand the problem, to, okay, here's how we might solve it. Yeah, you can really think of this as the behind-the-scenes work. This is the quiet, deep thinking that you do after the conversation is over. This is your time to mentally map everything out, to kind of architect a plan for what comes next. But let's be honest, deep thinking can feel a little vague, right? A bit unstructured. So how do you actually guide it? Well, for that, we can borrow an absolutely brilliant tool from Western education, one developed by a guy named Graham Gibbs way back in 1988. He made this simple cycle for learning by doing, and it is perfect for what we need here. It's called the Gibbs Reflective Cycle, and it's so powerful because it's built on just a few simple questions. You literally ask yourself, okay, what happened? Then, what went well? And what could have been better? And then, the big one. Based on all that, what's the plan going forward? See how that takes a fuzzy feeling and turns it into a sharp, actionable strategy?
And that brings us to the final and maybe most important section. This is where everything we've talked about
comes together. This is the whole point of the framework, turning all that listening and reflecting into real, tangible, lasting change in the real world.
We've made it to the final step. Ditya Supatu Vitta. This is the moment of truth. This is where insight finally meets action, and it's where the real transformation, well, it's where it really begins. This last step is all about one thing: application. It's a team effort, a collaborative process. It's where you help someone take that aha moment, that flash of insight, and actually turn it into real-world action, into real improvements in their day-to-day life. And the goals for this step are super clear. You work together to set goals you can actually hit. You create a plan that's sustainable, not some crazy quick fix. The whole idea is to make sure this new understanding doesn't just stay a cool theory, but becomes a new way of living. It's all about making change that actually sticks.
Okay, so let's zoom out and bring this all home. What is the big takeaway here? What should you remember from this whole 5-step journey?
When you boil it all down, it's a beautifully simple and logical flow. You listen, you remember and confirm. Then you reflect to build a strategy. And finally, you act to create real change. See, each step builds perfectly on the one before it.
And please, remember, this isn't just some clinical tool for therapists. It is so much more than that. Think of it as a roadmap. A roadmap to deeper, more meaningful connections in every relationship you have, with your coworkers, your family, your friends, and maybe most importantly, with yourself.
So I want to leave you with one final thought. We've spent this whole time talking about how this path can create incredible change for other people. But what happens when you turn this powerful lens around and point it at yourself? How could mastering this process change you?